Hey, this is Canary Quilts, and we are starting our Roadside Harvest sew-along. I introduced this to you maybe about a month ago, and it was introduced to me by my friend Corey out in California, and it is a pattern by Canary Quilts, which is Corey Yoder. She designed this, and it's a nice autumn quilt that I wanted to put together and I wanted to share with you. A lot of you may have this pattern, a lot of you may have the quilt kit like Corey does with the fabrics and everything included. I did not. I bought the pattern and I'm gonna put it together with you. So today, first of all, I want to let you know I do have a schedule on my website and I have a link to that down below, and there's pretty much going to be 2 weeks in between each section that we're doing. So we're going to start with the leaves here. You can see I have a whole bunch back here. There's 48 leaves in this quilt, and I used almost 48 different fabrics. So I'm going to walk you through the fabrics I'm using, which aren't in the kit, and I'm going to walk you through how to put one block together, one leaf together, and then I show you how I do 6 at a time. So I wasn't having one leaf at a time thing. So I figured out how to do 6 at a time, and I show you how to do that. I feel like it kind of consolidated everything and made it go a little bit faster, and at least it made me feel better about accomplishing more at one time, but I do think it helps to do more than one at one time. So we're starting with the leaves. There's 48 of them. It's taken me, with everything else I'm doing, it's taken me about 2 weeks to do 48 leaves. So it's not like I was working on them all day, every day or anything like that. I pick up 6 at a time and work on those, go on to something else, and then next day maybe pick up 6 at a time. So it is kind of daunting to see 48 leaves, but if you kind of break it up like that over a couple weeks, it is totally accomplishable. If that's a word. I don't know if that's a word. Anyway, also you can just get started on the leaves, and when we move to the pumpkins in a couple weeks, at least you've got the leaves all ready to go and you can grab those and start working on them if you're not done with them. So it's a work on it at your own pace quilt. It is going to be so pretty. I can't wait to see this in the end. I'm really excited to do this quilt. I'm really excited to have you do it with me. I love all these leaves. Look at all these different colors. It's just scrumptious. I love it. And I think that if you have the quilt kit, it's going to be really, really pretty too. So there you go. I want to also let you know that Fat Quarter Shop is doing their Haunted Halloween mystery sew along. This was week 1. This is week 2. This is a free pattern that they're giving out each week. I have a link to that down below. I have tons of links down below. I have my website with the schedule for this quilt. I have this here. I have the pattern that you can grab for the Roadside Harvest. So check out the links down below. It does help the channel out, and you can quilt along with us. And this is a free pattern, so hey, free is great. Also, in July, I'm going to be doing this quilt along. There we go. And it is called Witch's Night Out by It's So Emma Patterns, if you want to do a Halloween quilt with me also. So I've got an autumn quilt and I've got a Halloween quilt. I've got a Birds of a Feather quilt going on. So hit the subscribe button and notification bell. You'll get notified of all the fun stuff we got going on here. Anyway, enough. Let's get started with the leaves. All right, let's get started on our Roadside Harvest quilt. This is by Canary Quilts, which is Corey Yoder. She designed this. And my friend Corey introduced this to me, and she has the entire fabric kit with the pattern. But I just bought the PDF pattern, and I'm going to use my own fabrics, which is interesting because I pulled from all old sew samplers that I've gotten of fabrics I haven't used. I'm going to break it down like this. We're going to start with the leaves, and there's 48 of them. And I think we're starting with the leaves because there's so many of them that if we need a break, we can come back and do them, but we'll get a start on them. And then we're gonna go to the pumpkins, and then we're gonna go to the trucks. And then in the 4th week, we'll finish it all out. And I don't know what I'm gonna do for a border yet. I just have this in fabrics ready to go. So you can find this calendar on my website. I have a link to that down below. I have a link to the pattern down below. And I just wanted to go through my fabrics since I'm not using the fabric kit. Okay, this is a layer cake I got from Sew Sampler, and it's bee themed. And no, it is different colors. It's not traditional pumpkin colors, but these are going to be my pumpkins. And I think I have enough fabrics, or I may have a couple pumpkins that are going to be the same color. But yeah, I'm just going to use these for my pumpkins, and I think they're going to be super cute and blend in nicely with the rest of my fabrics. So I will put right now below which Sew Sampler this was and the name of the layer cake if you're interested. But it was I'm pretty sure it was last summer, and it's bee themed. It's got honeycomb, it's got flowers, it's got bees on it. Almost every fabric has a bee on it. Oh, and we got some gingham too. So it's really going to be cute since some of these are gingham also. But that's what I'm going to use for my pumpkins. All right, and let's see, what do we got next? Okay, we need 48 leaves. And they're going to be different widths of 2.5 inches. So I found 2 jelly rolls that I'm not using. And I'm using almost every piece of fabric out of these jelly rolls except for the white colors. And there was only about 6 or 7 of those. So these are going to be how my leaves are going to look. And I'll have a nice variety of the leaves. And I think, you know, if you put it next to this, I think it blends really well. Besides, it's fall. Fall is a ton of colors. So I've also thrown in a few extra fabrics if I need them, since there's 48 for my leaves. And I'm going to have a couple green leaves. So these are from, I'll put the name of the jelly rolls down below that I pulled these from and which Sew Sampler. This is from a Sew Sampler, and these are from a Sew Sampler that I actually did the quilt, and this was leftover fabric. And then the red and the gold, or the purple and the gold, are from my Holiday of the Month club of leftover fabric. So those are going to be all my leaves, and there is a lot there. Hopefully I'll have 48 different looking leaves. All right, oh, the fuzz, the fuzz. So this was a Sew Sampler I got last year too, which was fat 8s of these plaids. And these are going to be my trucks, not the back of the truck, but the front of the truck. So I'm going to use these as my front of my truck. And I think these will really make the truck stand out. I'll use up some fabric. I think it will go with everything else. And then for the back of the truck, oh, there's so much fuzz. I'm using a red Solid of the Month I got last year. So I'll use a different color red for each back of the truck here. And most of these colors in here will go nicely with red. So, and it'll set it apart. It'll really make, because of the solid, it'll make the back stand out, but it'll also make the truck part stand out. And then I haven't gotten the black out, but I've got plenty of black for my wheels. And then this was the basic of the month last year, or last month. Let's see, it is June, so this was May's basic of the month, which is on sale at Fat Quarter Shop. I always look at their basics of the month to see what they have because I don't have a lot of background fabric. So this is going to be my background of my quilt. And then these strips right here, I will figure that out. So there you go. That's my fabrics. But I need to cut my 48 leaves. And so there's going to be a lot of cutting. So she does break it down for cutting by leaves, pumpkins, and trucks so that you're not cutting, all the cutting instructions aren't particularly at the beginning. So For the leaves, the cutting instructions are under the leaves portion of the pattern. So that makes it a little easier, so that you're not just cutting and cutting and cutting. But for the leaves, you probably will be. But anyway, I'm gonna get the leaves cut, and I'll come back here and show you my cuts real quick. All right, here's my pieces for the leaves. It took a little while to cut these out, so just be prepared. I did kind of do a mass cutting on my background where I would cut like 6 strips and then cut through those to get these. And then here's all 48 of my fabrics for my leaves. And I made an executive decision while I was cutting the leaves. I told you I was going to use these fabrics right here as the truck body, but I had enough left over of my jelly rolls. I'm going to do, the red was going to be the truck bed. Well, now I'm going to make the truck red, a solid red, and then these are going to be the back of the truck, the bed of the truck. So these are from my jelly rolls, and I just went ahead and cut them since I had all my jelly rolls out. So that's a change that I'm making. And then I also went ahead and cut my pumpkin stems because those are coming from my jelly rolls also. So I'm just going to get set up for one. We'll go through it real quick. To get started on one leaf, you're going to need 8 of these little squares here. And 7 of them will need to be marked on the diagonal. And then 1 will not be. We'll need the rectangle here, and nothing happens with that till we start making the block. We've got our small square, which will pair with this to be a half square triangle. That needs to be marked on the diagonal, and so does our large square. And this is going to make the stem. Right here, the stem is going to be made from these large squares. All right, to get set up for Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3, that's what they're calling it in the pattern, you need 2 of the short rectangles and one of your E's with the diagonal. And your diagonal is going to go from top left to the middle right for both of these. And then for the 3 that are left, this is Unit 2, it's going to be in the opposite direction like this. This is where we're going to sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch from our seam. So we're cutting these corners off. And she wants us to iron open. And then, so there's Unit 1, there's Unit 2, Unit 3 is going to be like this. We want to cut off the bottom left and right corners of this. So, sew on the line, trim 1/4 inch, iron your seams open, and then we'll come back. We'll do the half square triangle, which I could do now. They're just calling it half square triangle. So, put your 2 pieces together. You're going to sew 1/4 inch away from the center line on both sides, and then we'll cut the center line. And we will be ironing that seam open also. So we'll have 2 half square triangles, then we'll come back and do the stem. Unit 2, Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 3 all through chain piecing them together. So I got them all done at the same time. So this is what it looks like trimmed. Here's Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, and then not Unit 4, the half square triangle I just trimmed right up the middle. Okay, so to do our stem of the leaf, you want to take your large printed rectangle, which is all that is left, and your 2 large background squares with the diagonal. You want to take one of your background squares with the diagonal and line it up in the bottom left corner here. And they aren't the same size. And then we're going to sew right on that line. We're going to press like that. But when you trim, you're only going to trim the bottom 2. And then this will be ironed over and will be in that corner. So we'll have a piece that looks like that. And we're going to do the same thing with this in the top right hand corner. So that when you sew on this line and you fold it back, you'll have a piece that looks roughly like that. and then you'll trim these 2 pieces off, leaving a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So, all right, so it's hard to see, but I've sewn on my line right there, and I want to iron this over so that all raw edges on the side line up. Then I'm going to take it over to my cutting board. I'll fold this back, and I'm going to put a 1/4 inch on my seam and then trim these 2 pieces off, which will leave that right there. Okay, trimmed off the bottom 2. This is folded over for that square. Now we did the bottom left first. We're going to do the top right. So we're going to take the last square with the diagonal on it, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Sew on that line, iron our piece over, and then trim these bottom 2 pieces off with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's my stem. You can see I've trimmed a 1/4 inch from my seam on both sides, and then it's ironed towards the corner. So now we pretty much, well, we do have all the pieces we need to make so we can put our block together. So we're going to start now. She's calling it Unit 5. We're going to take one of our small background squares and one of our half square triangles, and we're going to put it just like that, and then one of our Unit 2s. So we're going to make that corner, and so that's Unit 5. I know it sounds confusing, but if you have the pattern, you know what I'm talking about. But there's one corner of our leaf. And then to make another corner of our leaf, we're going to need a Unit 1, a Unit 2, and one of these background rectangles. So let's see, we are ironing everything open. So I'm going to get these 2 put together, iron open, and add it to this. And then I'll put these 2 together, matching that point, iron it open, then add this one and iron it open. All right, here's Unit 5, Unit 6, and to make the top leaf unit is what she's calling it, we need to take our Unit 3 and we'll put it down like this. So we need to put these 2 together, iron open, and then add it to this and iron open. So that's going to be our top leaf unit. All right, here's my top leaf unit. So these are the pieces we have left, and we need to now make Unit 7, which is what she's calling it. We need a Unit 1, which goes like this, and then our other background rectangle. We're going to put these together, iron them open, and then once we do that, we will add Unit 2 onto the side of this, and then this will go on. So I guess we have an extra half square triangle. That's interesting. We're going to end up with 48 of these in the end, it looks like. There we go, our first leaf. It's beautiful. I love it. And our extra half square triangle. So I'm going to save these. I'm pretty sure we don't use them, but I could be very wrong, but I will let you know. I'll look through the pattern a little more, but I'm just going to save these. Maybe in the end we can make a mug rug or something out of these. Okay, I've made it through most of my fabrics for these leaves, and I just want to show you how I'm doing it now that I've been through a lot of these. This is what I have left to do after these. So I've laid out 6 different fabrics in order here, and they're paired up with the backgrounds for the most part that they're going to go with. So the other thing I did, I'm going to throw a picture up, is I put a piece of tape on my machine that is where my needle falls, so I'm not marking the back of my background fabrics on the diagonal because that just takes forever to do. I'm utilizing this piece of tape so that when I put my needle down, it's going to be in one corner, and then the other corner I just keep it lined up with that piece of tape as I'm sewing, and it gives me a great diagonal. Now the other thing I'm doing is I'm sewing everything I can possibly sew at one time instead of like doing unit ones and ironing. And you may not like it this way, but I like to try to consolidate as much as I can. So I'm going to put both of my background pieces on all of my long strips here. I'm going to put all of my background pieces here, and I believe this gets sewn on the diagonal on the left side on all of these pieces, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing on these, but it gets sewn on the right. I don't need to mark the diagonal on this. I just line it up, and like I said, I put my needle down here, line it up with the edge of my tape, and as I'm sewing, I get a perfect diagonal. And then I just fold it over and do the other side while it's folded over. It's been working out really well. So the only thing I do have to mark is the half square triangles, because I need to mark the diagonal down the middle so that I have it so I can sew both the seams on either side of it. So I'll show you what all of this looks like when I'm done with this portion of it. This is a whole lot of sewing right here, but then I'm at my iron for all of it. So I kind of like that, where I'm not like going back and forth, I'm just getting it all done at once. It seems to me to feel like I can get this done at a faster rate. I've been at my machine the whole time and I got all these sewn. So it's like the ultimate in chain piecing. These two I do have sewn on. So what I need to do is trim my ends off, or my corners off on these, cut this apart, and then get it all ironed. So with this one I'm ironing first, and then I come back and trim these corners. And I'm using my previous blocks to look at to figure out how to put my pieces together. So I don't really even have the pattern out at this point. After you've done all of these, you almost kind of have it memorized how it goes together, but just to keep track, I keep a block out here. And you don't even need to really know Unit 1 and Unit 2. You can just look at your block and know, I got to put these two together, and I need one that has this angle here and one that has this angle there. Alright, here's all my pieces sewn. That's actually my stem, which I cut after I ironed the two pieces, half square triangles, and I've got twice as many of these, which I put the other ones aside for later. My Unit 2s, my Unit 1s, and Unit 3 maybe? Not sure. But anyway, it's this long piece in the middle. So now I'm going to do as much sewing as I can again. So I'm going to work in the corner where I'm going to take my half square triangle and my square background and put it together. Let's see, it needs to go like this and get sewn along this edge. I need to take a Unit 1 and a Unit 2 and put those together, make one of those. And then I can come down to the bottom here and take a Unit 1 and a blank rectangle and put it together like that. And I can take a Unit 2 and a stem and put it together like this. So that's all the sewing that I can get done right now before pieces start to get put together. Alright, here's the pieces that I just put together and ironed. We can actually put this bottom part together, these two pieces. Let's get the right color, Carrie. We can just get those together and sew those up. So that's that pile. This gets a blank rectangle on this side, so all of these can get sewn up, and then our little half square triangles get the remaining of Unit 2 on the bottom, like that. So we can get all of those sewn up and ironed on. Alright, here's my bottom half is done already. Top half, these two pieces need to be put together, ironed open, and then we'll add this to the bottom of these, and then we'll put the two halves together. So that's how quickly it kind of goes together doing it this way when you're sewing and ironing all at once. But anyway, I'll show you what they look like when I'm done. There are the blocks I just made. Need to get all the little fluff and stringies off them, but so pretty. I only have 5 more to go. So I hope I helped you to show you at least how to build a block, then how to build multiple blocks at once and try to consolidate what you're doing. Next up, we're going to be doing pumpkins, which is fun. Let me grab the pattern. So we have all the leaves done. Next up is pumpkins, but giving you 2 weeks to do these, and you can do them at your own pace. But in 2 weeks, I'll put out the pumpkins, and it's taken me about 2 weeks to do these, and that's with all the other stuff I'm doing. So I think it's a good set of time, a good amount of time. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know how it's going for you. My blocks are going to be so pretty, and my quilt's going to be really pretty. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. You get notified when we get the pumpkins out, we get the trucks out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.